Hey, Jared.
Yes.
How did the leprechaun beat the Irishman to the pot of gold? How did the leprechaun beat the Irishman to the pot of gold?
He is something with Lucky Charms. I don't know.
He took a shortcut.
Okay. All right. Not bad.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time Film. I'm your host, Josh. And Jared, when I'm not near the woman I love the woman I'm near.
I have that down to talk about that because that's a crazy quote.
All right, so that's my co-host, Jared.
Josh, don't be superstitious. It's a bad luck.
All right, so today we are discussing the movie Finian's Rainbow.
Yep. Not Filianor. That's what I kept saying, Filianor.
Yeah. This is a movie from 1968. It's rated G. 2 hours and 21 minutes. That's a serious runtime.
Sure is. This is the first G movie we've ever done, I think.
Probably is.
Probably.
Yeah. An Irish immigrant and his daughter move into town in the American South with the magical piece of gold that will change people's lives, including a struggling farmer and African-American citizens threatened by a bigot politician. All right, so our current director, Francis Ford Coppola, writers E.Y. Harburg and Fred Sadie, cinematographer Philip H. Lathrop, music by Ray Haindorf, production costs.
You ask me this every week, and every time, caught off guard for whatever reason.
These are hard. These old movies like this.
Yeah, they are. What was our Dimension 13? I don't really need to think about that one because that one's leftover budget.
Yeah, we didn't.
That's right.
It was not.
What was the last? I'm trying to remember.
Tell you wrong.
Or maybe we couldn't.
800,000.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this is like. Now I know you got to get people to do all the dancing and stuff. You need a lot of skilled dancers and such for this. But you're pretty much, you're just outside for basically the whole thing. There's one thing that I was like, this looks like a set for sure. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But the rest was just outside. But I'll just say 1 mil, then 1 million.
3.5 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's a big jump up.
Yeah.
And only 2 years later?
Yeah.
Wow. Wonder where that went to. Oh, you know what? Well, you're going to get into the cast. I mean, Fred Astaire is a...
Well, yeah, and also...
Very big
I was
deal.
looking up... I guess it was one of the writers, but I think it was because they wrote the music. It also says, I think, was the person that also wrote the music for The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that person probably got paid very well.
So, and then you have... Yeah. So, before we move to the cast, this was both nominated for Best Sound and Best Music Academy Awards. Did not win, but...
Okay.
So this is interesting for Coppola, last time, his second film had a nomination.
Yeah.
And now he's got 2 nominations on this one.
Good for him. I mean, we know he gets a lot of wins later, but this early on, that's pretty...
Yeah.
That's
just
pretty
interesting
good
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we have the cast. And well, Fred Astaire plays one of our leads, and is basically the only name I recognized.
Yeah, me too.
Petula Clark plays his daughter.
That name sounds familiar, but I didn't recognize
Tommy Steele is their leprechaun.
him. Okay.
Don Franks is Woody. Keenan Wynn is the senator. Barbara Hancock is Woody's sister, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Al Freeman, Ronald Colby, Dolph Sweet, Wright King, and Lou Silas. And those are the ones that are, and then you jump down to like the number. All right. So, overall thoughts on this film?
Well, I wanted to say that I think this has got to be probably one of Fred Astaire's final movies.
Yeah.
Because he was like early Hollywood was when he was.
Yeah, he definitely was old in this, but I didn't look to see when he stopped or passed away.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I want to say at least, if not his final film, I think this was his final musical.
Oh.
I think I did see that somewhere. So, because obviously he did a lot of musicals in the past, but I feel like more around like you were mentioning the Wizard of Oz time, like in the 30s, is when he was bigger.
Singing in the Rain.
Exactly. Yeah, that was probably the 30s, right?
I don't know, but that
Sounds right.
It's a classic one that I've seen.
Yeah, that was great. All right. Overall thoughts. Well, like we have been mentioning, this movie knew nothing about. Both of us had no idea. Didn't even know it existed.
Right. Yeah. The only thing is that I found it interesting is that because of it being G and just the type of film it is, I am surprised it's not one that Aaron wouldn't have like grown up watching / like, so then I might have seen it because of that. That's the only.
True. Yeah. Yeah. She was into a lot of the old
musical films, and then Fred Astaire specifically.
Oh, she liked Fred Astaire. Okay, didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
and Judy Garland. So like.
Well, of course.
But that's like Meet Me in St. Louis and things like that. So.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, this movie was pretty boring. There were some characters I did like in this, and I'll mention the music later when we get to it. I thought the songs and the music overall was good. Surprised though that it's whoever was involved with Wizard of Oz with this, because Wizard of Oz is like way better musically than this movie, I think. But yeah, so
this is many years later, so
true.
Just collecting paychecks by that point.
Yeah, they were checked out at that point. No, the music was good. The runtime, I definitely felt that in this movie. But yeah, so just overall pretty boring, unfortunately for me. What about you?
Yeah. So I wrote that it started out with potential. Like I think, the setup in the beginning, I was like, oh, this could be interesting and kind of goofy, but whatever. And it was goofy, but then like I think what really killed this film was that runtime.
Yeah,
like, I think, and also like a little bit of like they're trying to do too much in the plot, right? Like there's like too much going on. Like if they would have simplified it, didn't try to have like some underlining like messaging in there basically, and just kind of kept it to the main storyline, and then had some music in between and stuff, like it probably would have brought it down to easily like an hour 30, hour 40.
Yeah, and which I would have enjoyed it much more.
And it would have been a tighter.
Yeah,
because I think the length, and then also the fact that it's not like a very concise plot, like it's very like weird and all over the place, and other random things happening that you're just like, why is this?
It is true. It seems like, yeah, it's very loose plot wise for sure. Yeah.
So,
well, for people listening or watching, also, I was curious of your opinion of this because you are not a musical guy. You don't like musicals normally.
No. I mean, I mean, that was those parts. I was just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's something to this style of one. Like there's like the older types of musicals like that. Like like again, like Wizard of Oz or whatever. Like Singing in the Rain, Meet Me in St. Louis, like the ones we've just.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that's like, I hate the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
It's like
there's a certain different type of feel to it. So like I didn't like hate that was there. I think honestly, like the points I was making earlier about the story and the plot, and like if all that stuff was a little more concise, and I mean they maybe would have had to lose a musical number or something, or if it to cut time too, but I think it would have been a better film. Like,
yes, I agree. And we were talking about that I think last week, where I think you said you did like La La Land, which is probably the most recent musical.
It's the only modern day musical I've seen that I like.
Yeah. I mean, modern day musicals are way more hit or miss, I would say, than classic ones. But
all right, we'll get into a little more specifics.
Yeah, I only have 3 notes, so
yeah, I don't have very many either.
Yeah, okay.
So well, this kind of there's like 2 parts. This kind of goes into 2 sections, but like the opening was cool again. I feel like this is kind of becoming a common theme on these films. Like
you're right.
Well, all 3 now that we've watched have been really interesting and kind of ambitious creatively on their opening.
Yeah, he really gets you with the intro, like of all 3 so far. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I like some of this. I'll talk about in cinematography too, but
yeah, I have some stuff about that too. Well, I wanted to mention Sharon. Yes, Sharon's character, who is Petula Clark. She's one of the characters I really liked. Really liked how much sarcasm she brought in, like at different times, especially more towards the beginning, I would say. Even in that opening bit you're talking about. I thought she was one of the standouts in this movie. I mean, Fred Astaire also, but I like
doing the Irish accent.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, yeah, I think she was my favorite of all the characters.
Yeah.
I think also, because also I think kind of a theme with all 3 of these movies so far, there's normally one standout like actor where you're like, oh, this is a good performance, and then like there's some others you're like,
yeah,
not so much. It's not like consistent throughout the whole cast. And yeah, so I think she was one of the best. And I looked her up. I don't think she was in many movies, but her name sounds familiar.
Yeah. No.
So,
yeah, I was looking at.
She was good in this.
There's a handful of these people that like some of what they're well known for is this film.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, and you're like, okay, and I've never heard of this film.
No, that's what I'm kind of wondering how popular this movie was overall, or how well it did at the time, or how well it became.
Yeah.
Like popularity wise. And I don't really know because I never heard of it. So I'm not sure how big it got.
So now that we're kind of on the other side of I know we don't like spoiler say that specifically, but like we can spoil some things. So let's talk about so the whole senator, like part of the subplot of the senator and everything, like I just cut that all out.
Yeah, that was the worst part.
It was just so stupid
Mm-hmm.
and made no sense.
Nope.
And so just like make it go away. Like
First thing you could take out to make the runtime better.
yeah,
all
just
those
all that
things.
interactions.
Yep.
Because every time that they brought them in, it made no sense, and it was like literally like fully like just foolish like interactions, and
Mm-hmm.
it just yeah.
Definitely felt out of place,
Yeah.
and kind of like it was just forced in there. I don't know, like whoever wrote it. You were mentioning the writers. It's just like a subplot that they were like, no, this has to be in it.
Yeah. So then you also then lose like the whole like in your face stuff about like bigotry or racism that like kind of felt also out of place and just kind of
Yeah, but
forced.
that makes more sense for the time when this came out too, though.
Right. No,
Which is
I know,
probably
but
why.
like but it didn't feel naturally there.
Sure, yeah.
Is what my point. Like it's like it was just kind of like forced in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like. I think because if you made it just about, hey, there's this group of people in this town, and then these,
Yeah,
you know,
and
then,
like,
then the
you
two
can't
Irish,
take it
the
away
two
from
Irish
them.
people
Yeah.
show up. Like there's enough tension between the leprechaun and he stole the pot of gold to like,
Mhm.
and then they're like, yeah, and you could kind of you could add a little bit more depth to that stuff if you didn't have all the other crap to deal with.
Mhm.
You have like the little side plot of like them trying to make money and blah blah blah. Like I don't know. I feel like they were trying to overly complicate it just for complicating. Like we're like, oh, you need more going on or something. I don't know. And it just
Yeah,
because like for instance, The Wizard of Oz is a straight story, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not like
very straight story. Yeah.
layers of subplot and all these other things. It's just like
No, it's just like one
yeah. So
journey. Yeah.
So, keeping it simple and so I think that's where it gets messy and why the run times ends up being,
Mm-hmm.
and
you got to think, I mean, just with any movie, there's a lot that you cut out in the process, right? So it's like, how much did they even
right.
have initially of this movie? And then brought it down to almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so then to that point, there's like and I don't know if this goes in music or not, but
Mhm.
there's like the overture in the beginning, where it's just like
And then intermission.
and then there was an
and then-
intermission.
Yep. And then the outro, or
the prelude. No,
prelude at the beginning.
yeah,
What word do they use for the?
but just
There
funny.
was one in the outro.
It was just
too,
like-
yeah.
Is it because I mean, like I don't know, like is it what were the overture thing was like? I'm like, is it because they used to have like a live orchestra playing?
Yeah. I mean,
Probably at
that
some point,
definitely
like
happens.
like from
Or
like
happened a lot more than, yeah.
when like a stage performance or something, and it's like carried over into the films.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also just, it's probably Coppola kind of, because I don't think he did any other musicals besides this movie. So I think it's him kind of paying tribute to like the normal kind of traditional way they did musicals. Like they usually have that, whether it is like a live, musical play that you would have gone and seen, they do that same kind of thing. They have a, overture, intermission, all that. Normally, sometimes they have a couple intermissions, depending on how long it is. And so I think he just wanted to add that in to kind of fit with that classic musical feel. To me, that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean the intermission stuff. I guess like that was still common practice. If a film was at a certain length, they would do an intermission. But
Yeah. Gives you a chance to go to the bathroom.
yeah,
We don't ever have that anymore.
no,
Even if you go see a 3-hour Nolan movie, it's like you just got to hold it.
yep.
You can't get up because you will miss something, especially in a Nolan movie if you
Yeah.
get up.
Yeah.
I have so Susan, the girl.
Mm-hmm.
This is towards the beginning also. When she's trying to motion something Oh, it's the first time the officer's there.
Yeah.
And she's trying to motion something to him. Someone says, there's two different people. So one person says this first. She said she was born silent. And then someone else in the background says, one of the few women who ever was. And I was just like, dang.
I do.
I was like, man, absolutely savage. But it made me laugh. It was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I liked her too in this. And it was a interesting idea, her just not talking.
Yeah.
Till the end.
It kind of reminded me of like, something about it like reminded like Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
Like the kind of like, hey, I can't talk, but I'm like, and the way she danced around was like,
The way she danced was
like,
similar. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was thinking like the Tinkerbell from like the live action old one.
Mm-hmm.
That was a musical too, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It just seemed kind of that similar type of vibe with her character just as a whole. Yeah. And then my last note is I put down, and it has to do with your quote.
Yeah.
Because I was like, so his name's Og, the leprechaun. But when he said that, when I'm not near the girl I love the girl I'm near. Just like, man, it's a horrible moral code to live by.
Well, I have a note about that time too.
Yeah.
I put like,
because who is he saying it to?
To Susan.
Is it to Susan?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
Because he was in love with Sharon.
Right.
And there's also like the leprechaun, because he's like, oh no, I might be stuck human. He's like, but then he's basically is like feeling horny.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like,
That's
maybe I want to stay. Maybe
yeah.
I want to stay human. And I was like, okay.
The classic horny leprechaun trope
starts to become human, and then it makes him horny, and he's like, yeah, let me like, okay. It's weird thing to have in a G movie.
Yeah, that kind of stuff though in older movies was always like kind of in there, even in a movie that's G or PG. There's always those little like subtle things, but that's all it could be with a G movie. But yeah, because I feel like because Wizard of Oz is still G also, right? Even though there's some pretty disturbing stuff in that, but I want to say it was G, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah, but it's just like the conversation when we were talking about when they added the PG-13 rating. It's like it's a very broad range when you're rating your movie. Back then, there wasn't many options, so just like we mentioned, all the old Bond movies being PG, and it's like there's plenty of stuff in those movies that's like they should be rated higher than that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
to the point, talking about the leprechaun though, didn't really like him.
Yeah.
He was just kind of wild.
Yeah, and just whiny.
Yeah, very whiny. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the ones I didn't like as much. I understand why he played it that way. Like, just like the classical leprechaun type of, just his demeanor. But I just, it's just kind of a weird actor in general to me. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think that's about the gist of it's what I have notes.
That's all my notes.
Yeah.
I will say, because I was just thinking about this, I didn't have a note about it, but I thought it ended, the final shot, which I guess technically could be cinematography also when we get into that, but I like the final shot of Fred Astaire walking away. I thought that was a cool way to end the movie. The ending as a whole, though, like, didn't think was like that strong, but I did like that final shot, and then the credits start. Thought that was good.
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff at the end with them trying to get married and the pot of gold.
Yep. So that was, I was mentioning about one of those areas, which there's multiple scenes in that area that really felt like a set, was like that area,
for sure.
the leprechaun. Because like that was very noticeable, but then pretty much every other scene was like, oh, this is all just outside or like in a small town or something, you know?
Yeah.
But that was like very noticeable, that like little grassy area. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that is definitely a set. But yeah, you're right. Like some of the other stuff was just like locations they found that they filmed in.
I wonder, well, maybe it'll say, but I wonder, was this all filmed in Ireland or somewhere else, or where was it?
It was supposed to be in the U.S.
Oh, you're right.
So I assume they filmed it in the U.S.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they're immigrants from Ireland. Yeah. Huh, it doesn't look... I mean, that's what I was thinking also. It doesn't... It looked very not U.S. Like the fields and stuff in particular. I don't know.
Yeah.
A different feel to it to me. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure
Guess we'll see.
maybe in trivia we'll find out. So yeah, let's the opening shots. Talking about cinematography.
Yeah.
Opening shots as they travel the country.
Yes. That's my
were
note
pretty
also.
cool. Lots of helicopter stuff, which was interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much that costs, but there's might be a chunk of the budget.
True. And I noticed those shots, like, it was pretty, like, unstable, too. Like, you could see it shaking a lot, too. It's that's all you
giant
could do.
film camera on
Yeah.
and they probably had a long lens on it, too, to get, like, the shot. Like, yeah, it's, but still, it was pretty cool. It was cool. I mean, there's a couple times you saw, like, they were kind of repeating things, but overall, like, it was, they did a good job of trying to make it feel very different terrain and stuff and make it interesting. And
yeah, that's my really only main note for cinematography is honestly the whole intro. All the even the very beginning, like the close up of the flowers, I thought looked great.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah.
And obviously different shots, like you mentioned, of the field, and then there was a shot of like a lot of fog, like in few of the shots as they're traveling. That looked great also. But yeah, that was honestly, of the whole movie, that was the standout for cinematography, that whole intro.
So I also have a note about then a little bit later when they first time they're talking about Woody showing up on the train, and they show the train. They do this like interesting sped up camera as it goes through a bunch of the train cars. It goes like through.
I don't know if I noticed that.
Open doors, and it was just, I mean, it's kind of weird looking, honestly, but
so they're actually like fast forwarding.
Yeah, I mean,
however they would have done it back then.
Well, you have to overclock or underclock. So,
okay,
like just how we do, like we don't do that when you're in digital. We don't really bother doing it when you need to speed things up because we can just drop frames and the computer does it for you, and it's like but to do it when you had to do film and you weren't editing on a computer, you had to shoot at a lower frame rate. So so if you shot at
lower than the standard,
so if the standard is 24 and you shot at 12, then your footage is going to be twice as fast.
Right.
Like what takes a second is going to take half, or what takes 2 seconds will be a second. So then if you go down to like 4 or something, you can make it really fast. But then of course their stabilization is not great, so it kind of like so. Anyway, it was just interesting because it's not done that often, and it was also just stood out too because then later and all the stuff's at the beginning, and the same with I almost wrote down about the flowers and like the bees because I was like, oh, there's another cool shot, and I'm like, well, I can't write down every cool shot if they're just going to do nature shots like this. But then there was like no more after that.
That was the standout. That was really it. Yeah.
But it was the same with the strain thing. Like it was definitely like this, like, hey, let's try this interesting thing. I really want to try this thing, whether it was the DP or the director.
Right.
But then, it's like not, there's nothing else like that in the film either.
I feel like when it's something like that, that's the only time in the film that you see something like that. It's like, it's just them, whether it's Coppola or Philip H. Lathrop.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, they're just experimenting. They're like, oh, let's see how this is. And
yeah, you like saw somebody else do something or
Right.
heard about somebody doing something and like, hey, let's try it, you know, and then you just want to do it. So yeah, this was kind of, I mean, it was cool, interesting from a time period trying to make something like that, but I mean, it seemed kind of not, didn't add to, it didn't feel purposeful in doing that for the movie, right? Like it was just like felt like very out of place, and
yes.
So yeah, but
also like I'm thinking, since like these movies are all probably the oldest that we've covered so far, release wise, and I'm just thinking about. I guess I'm also like been thinking about it more lately, because now that I'm editing these pods, and I'm thinking of like, you know, because when you make a cut, it's actually the blade tool, like you were mentioning, which is obviously how they actually did it back then. But it's crazy thinking of that process then. And it's like, if you make that cut, it's like, how hard is it to then unmake that cut? You know, it's like, could they put it back together? Like back then, like, could you do that?
I guess
like,
they could tape it or something, maybe.
That's what I guess. Yeah, tape. Like, what else could you do?
I don't know.
So you have to be very careful and like specific.
Yeah, I'm sure they're split. They're cutting and then taping stuff together, because you're cutting between frames. You're not cutting the middle of the frame,
right?
So then like you could just like tape it between frames. And
but I'm saying, if you had like if you're like, oh wait, no, actually I do want that in there, and it's like, it's way tougher. But I imagine they were way more deliberate and specific with when they're making
I'm sure
cuts.
they're working with copies. They'll probably make copies of the film.
Okay.
Right, so the original negatives.
I was wondering about that. Yeah, how
maybe
many?
not what they used to. I don't know, but I would just
I guess
guessing.
that makes sense.
You'd have to take the original and save those, and then make copies and work with those. So if you needed to restart, I guess you have copies of. I mean, I don't know. It's not something I've ever done, so and really dug into it historically to learn. But I'd imagine, like, you either start with a copy, and you might even be like, oh, standard is here's 3 copies. Editor, start working on stuff. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, it was a lot more work.
Yeah.
You can't just like,
for sure.
Let me see what it looks like this. Nah, let's move that around. Let's see just what we do now.
Yeah. It's not just a magical undo button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all I had. Like you said, like the rest of it's pretty. There was a couple times where there was like one other time it was like, oh, they brought the helicopter back.
Oh yeah.
They shot, and then there's a couple crane shots and stuff, but most part of it was pretty. Being a musical, you have to film everything pretty. Kind of further wider shots and like to get all the people in the shot, and it's a lot more people on camera at the same time, and you see.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in this for sure. Way wider shots. I mean, especially one of the songs in the middle, I want to say, when there's like a ton of people in the field doing that song and the choreography, and so you don't really have as much freedom to make some like cool artistic decisions with your shots in that way.
Just reminded me.
Yeah.
There was that recent Christmas movie that was a musical that had Ryan Reynolds and Will
Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, yeah. I remember not liking that either.
Yeah. I remember seeing the trailer for that, and I was like, nah, I didn't even want to watch it. I was like, this is probably not going to be good.
But what reminded me is because they're talking about, it was just like the...
Is it called Spirit or something?
I don't remember.
Something Spirit. I don't know.
But I remember the shots because I was like, these stuff just like looks bad when they would actually do the musical numbers. It would just, so it's even modern day. It's like not easy to make.
And that was probably all sets.
Yes.
There probably wasn't any location. Yeah.
But yeah. So speaking of music, let's talk a little about the music.
Yeah, I think I looked up the cinematographer also, but I didn't really
There's not.
see anything. Yeah. Same with the composer too. So Ray Heindorf. What's interesting is in the credits it just says uncredited, which is kind of messed up. So, yeah, he was not credited for this. But yeah, I liked it. I mean, I'm definitely, for people that don't know, I'm way more of a musical fan than Josh is.
What's your favorite musical?
That I don't know. That's tough. I don't have a number one favorite. I will say one of my favorite, like, more modern ones.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask. Like, what's one of the more modern ones? That
is, I mean, La La Land's really good too, but Sweeney Todd I've always loved. Yeah, and that was like, I think that was like late 2000s. I want to say. That one I love the music in that.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
I did see it once, like right when it around came out. I was like, yeah.
We need to
That's Tim Burton, right?
Yes. Yeah, because I think it was the normal classic Tim Burton and Danny Elfman composer duo that they did a lot. Yeah. I was going to ask, actually, I think I might have already asked you this, because like kind of the most recent, although not much of a musical, it's kind of more just about film, is Babylon. But did you say you saw that?
No.
Okay. We have that director, Damien Chazelle. We have him on the list. But we could probably do him soon. He doesn't have that many movies. It could be kind of a shorter one we could jump into.
Maybe tell us, what do you want us to cover next after we finish Coppola?
Right.
I mean, we've got a few weeks.
Yeah,
months,
Coppola's going to be a while.
But yeah.
And it's extended because we're about to do, well, when this comes out, we probably already did cover Joker 2.
Oh, right. Well, that's the next film. Yeah, that would be the next film, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess that is literally the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll yeah, it's gonna be a while before and then we mentioned also Megalopolis. We will cover that. That'll be late though, because that's at the end of late from when the movie releases.
Yep.
Because that's very soon also, I want to say. But
yeah.
So music wise, I mean I really love musicals anyway. I always have really liked them, even growing up. And I mean, I just love what musicals do, specifically that I love in the actual music, is just how much modulation they do with the music, which is essentially, you could also call it a key change, but modulation is more when you're stepping out of whatever key you're playing in, and then you're coming right back to the original key or the root note that you're playing in. I love that music anyway, but like musicals really lend themselves to that. Like that's done a lot in musicals.
Why do they do that a lot?
Why? I think it's just always been the case because even the songs that people sing in musicals, there is a lot of that modulation and key changes in those songs anyway. So it's just always been a thing. I don't know why. I mean, I guess the specific feel of a musical, when you hear a musical song, like it does have a specific feel more than like just a normal song. So that is one factor that can kind of, you can pick that out as like a musical is a lot more of that kind of thing, but it's always been the case for sure.
All right. Themes and messages.
I didn't write anything down for this.
What?
I mean, We can just say to be nice to everyone, don't be racist. It's kind of a given, but you know, I don't know. Did you have something for this?
Nothing, I didn't write anything down specifically, no. But
me either. Be kind to everyone.
Yeah. Share your gold.
Share your gold. Yeah. Also, if you do happen to run into a leprechaun, maybe just be cautious because he's probably horny. It just makes me laugh just thinking of every leprechaun being that way.
Right.
So like the Lucky Charms guy makes you think of when you see a box of Lucky Charms now, you're going to think of it in a whole different way.
All right, so we got do a little trivia on this film.
Real quick, how do you feel about Lucky Charms? Is that like top tier for you in cereal?
So I love dehydrated marshmallows.
Yes, you do.
Top tier, but what I don't like in cereal in general, I always preferred corn-based cereal.
I agree.
Then rice-based cereal, then oat-based cereal.
Yep.
So the fact that they're oat-based,
yep,
makes it a subpar the cereal part.
It's like you're eating Cheerios. And it's like
right,
not great. If you're
when I was a teenager, there was a Spider-Man cereal.
I was just going to mention that.
That was
the best.
The best. And so how I recreate it is I buy Crispix.
Yeah, that's all it was, right?
It was similar to Crispix because it was like I think it was
Spider-Man shapes though.
Yeah, it was and it was like I think it was a mix of corn and rice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can buy the generic dehydrated marshmallows and you just make your own.
Mm-hmm. It was a very short amount of time.
Yeah, it was like when the Spider-Man cartoon,
the original,
the 90s Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh, was it? I was thinking of the original, like the Sam Raimi.
No,
movies. I that would have been beginning of 2000.
No, I think it was
before that.
Before that, yeah, I think so.
Well, then yeah,
because by the time I got married, I think it didn't exist anymore. Which that would have been.
What year did you get married?
99.
Oh wow, that's right. I always think about that because of always correlate that with the Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I mean that Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace, yeah.
Also in 99.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good year.
It was.
All right. So many, including Fred Astaire, blamed director Coppola for cutting off Astaire's feet during the filming of his dance scenes. But
yeah,
it was Warner Brothers who decided after filming the film in 35 millimeter to convert it to a wider 70 millimeter to promote a reserved ticket roadshow attraction. This was achieved by cropping off the tops and bottoms of the film, including some shots of the Astaire's footwork.
Okay. I that makes sense because it's like him and Danny Kaye both were like the two that were they're very well known for their tap dancing and footwork. Mm-hmm. This makes me think of though, said at the beginning during the credits, like the end of the title credits, filmed in Panavision. I wanted to ask you about Panavision. What is that specifically?
Those are
it's a type of camera.
I think it's type of lens.
Type of lens.
I think so.
Gotcha.
I think so.
I didn't know how familiar we are with them, but yeah, I just remember seeing that and I was curious about it because I've seen that many other times in movies and I always wondered what it was specifically.
Let's double check so I'm not telling.
Yeah, you don't want the comments coming for you. I always thought of it as like a camera or like even a specific type of film. Is there like special film? Because for whatever reason, I always would picture that with Panavision. It's like a special type of film they're using or something.
Mm. Yeah, they came up with like panoramic vision, which is not
Yeah, it's Panavision is
Mm-hmm.
the term in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a trademark thing. I don't know.
So it's kind of like, it's also like a brand. Like you would see like Kodak or Polaroid
Mm-hmm.
with like, okay.
Let me just try one more time. I think it's like, yeah,
It's not coming up with anything.
Panavision, including.
Oh, it's
It's cut-
Panavision, not Panovision.
No, this is Panavision. Panavision, a company that provides equipment and services to filmmakers, including cameras, lenses, lighting, grip.
So it's just a brand,
So it was
essentially.
So I guess it was more than just. Panavision was an American motion picture equipment company founded in 1954,
Okay.
specializing in cameras and lenses. So it must have been a camera and a lens. But I think then there's Panavision still around. I don't know. Interesting.
For whatever reason in the movie, I thought it was Panovision. But that's something different. I don't know.
Yeah. So back to
Yep. Trivia. So they cut off his feet. So was they wanted a specific aspect ratio?
Yeah.
Okay.
They want it to look more like 70 millimeter. But
Gotcha.
even though obviously it's not. If they thought it filmed in 35, it's not. They just crop it. So the original choreographer, Hermes Pan, was fired partway through the production because Coppola felt his choreography was too old-fashioned. Then he replaced him by a much younger choreographer, Claude Thompson, who was familiar to many of the dancers in the film. Pan was chosen because of his long association with Fred Astaire, having choreographed most of his famous films, musicals in the 30s and 40s. So that's the original guy was picked for that reason.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'm glad I was right with even the time period. So he was the most famous, Fred Astaire, in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah. Because of its satire on racism, this popular 1947 Broadway musical. So this was a musical before. Was considered such
In
a hot,
47.
it was considered such a hot potato in Hollywood that studios would not touch it unless they were allowed to change the story. The original creators held out, and by 68 it was able to be filmed with very few changes. So this was a musical before, which I didn't realize.
So probably to make this into a movie, they probably wouldn't have been able to even make it before 1968.
Mm-hmm.
Like no film
They didn't want to do it
company
'cause
would
it's too
be
risky.
like, yeah.
This was Fred Astaire's last non-compilation musical.
Okay. I'm going to look real quick to see when he actually passed away.
It says the plot was originally very controversial because it dared to confront racism. Now it's controversial because one of the characters is in blackface for much of the show.
Well, yeah, well, you didn't even mention that.
Well,
I noticed that very clearly. I was like, wow, that was a choice.
Yeah.
Fred Astaire died in 87.
Oh, so it was much later.
Yeah.
Petula Clark, who had many hit records in French and English, does her own singing in the French dubbed version of this film.
Okay.
The French audio track is included on the DVD. So that's why.
So she's an artist.
Yeah,
musical
that's why
artist.
the name fell.
Okay. That makes sense. Fred Astaire also, this is just crazy that he was born in 1899.
Mm.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it more too, I think I've seen several when I've like gone shopping for vinyl.
Mm.
I feel like I have seen Petula Clark. like some records verse. So that's probably where I saw it.
And this film was banned in South Africa when it was released due to its racial themes.
Also, I definitely think she was the best, because now that you're mentioning she was a music artist, I think she was the best singer in this too.
Yeah, it's about it.
Okay. Well, this might have been a shorter pod, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, that seems short, and it wasn't. So
yeah.
let us know if you've, just like with these other movies we've done recently, let us know if you even have heard of this or watched it, or if it's like a favorite musical of yours.
I feel like this one had the opportunity to be like one that somebody maybe watched as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was surprised it's not one that Aaron was familiar with. But
you know what, I need to ask Mimo, because she loved especially older musicals. I'll have to ask her about this one.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're familiar with it, let us know. If you have thoughts and fond memories of this film, because I'm sure it would play very differently if you watched it as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Versus us watching it for the first time and as adults.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let us know. If you like to give us feedback, you can write in at email us at feedback@screentimepod.com, or you can leave a comment on the YouTube videos. You can also DM us. I'm on Instagram at jyoungbar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar. Did you say the last or our next movie?
Oh, well, we kind of talked about it before.
That's right, we did.
But yeah, we next film we're going to jump back to Todd Phillips and do Folie à Deux, the Joker second film.
Folie à Deux.
Hot Shots Part 2.
That's right.